Watson is at the Iran desk here in Atlanta, and he's taking in a number of different types of video from various sources and information. What do you have for us?
Let me first remind our viewers why we're doing all of this reporting from outside of Iran. It's because we received this fax, our team in Tehran, from the Iranian government, banning us from working in Iran, from sending any dispatches without prior approval from the Iranian authorities. All of those requests have been rejected. That's why this team is working so hard here to try to figure out what is happening. The latest we've gotten from our sources in Tehran is that the people have gone to the roofs again for another night, and they're chanting Allahu Akbar, God is great. That is a show of defiance against the Iranian authorities, and we've seen that night after night in Tehran. Look at this image that we pulled from one of the social networking sites of what appears to be clashes taking place in Tehran earlier today. And we see that some of the demonstrators have clubs here, water cannons, and that fits with some of the reports we've gotten from the protesters themselves. Then let's go to this Facebook page. This is for Mir Hussein Mousavi. He is the opposition candidate who, according to official results in these very disputed elections, got second place. And according to this latest posting, quote, "It has been reported that apparently some kind of liquid like acid is being poured on people. This was posted immediately for the sake of the safety of fellow compatriots," end quote. Now, very difficult for us to confirm. Of course, our hands are tied reporting-wise on the ground in Tehran, but we have heard other reports of some kind of boiling liquid coming from security helicopters flying over the demonstrators today. Again, very difficult for us to confirm, and this site is not foolproof. It has been hacked, but this is something that is coming from the opposition leader's Facebook site. Now, I'd like for you to listen right now to take a look at some of the video that we have pulled from the social networking sites of some of the chaos in the streets of Tehran today. Listen closely here. You hear gunshots there, and then the crowd chanting, "Death to the dictator." Okay, and that's a direct challenge, if not to the president-elect, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, but possibly also to the supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. And that is breaking a massive taboo in Tehran. It is not accepted to criticize the supreme leader, the most powerful man in that country. Let's keep watching at what appear to be demonstrators in the streets of Tehran facing off against security forces. Earlier in this video, we saw images of them picking up stones, apparently to be thrown at the security forces. And they seem to be facing off down that street that we're looking at right now with Iranian security forces. And we hear a man yelling off camera, "They're using real bullets." He's yelling this in Farsi. And now I have to warn our viewers, we're going to see some very disturbing images in the minute to come, bloody images, so you may want to turn away from the TV, because these street clashes turned very violent, bloody, and quite possibly deadly today. And these are not the only images we've seen of these clashes or of these security helicopters flying overhead. I referred to them earlier in this report, Frederica.
Yeah, and still unclear whether, I guess there were some conflicting information coming out of the purpose of those helicopters, whether they had some kind of hot liquid to pour or whether they were surveillance, etc. And meantime, this image that we're seeing right here, Ivan, I know you had described it earlier. We had been hearing the gunshot, and now you see a man being carried by a group of people there. The blood on his belly. It's unclear whether he was shot or how he may have been injured, but that's the kind of chaos that we're seeing on this street. Pretty disturbing images.
Very disturbing, and it just shows how serious these clashes were, how polarized Iranian society is right now, and how angry the opposition is at the results, at the way the government has treated the results of these controversial elections.
Ivan Watson, thanks so much there from the Iran desk. We're going to continue to keep tabs on information, images coming to the Iran desk here in Atlanta. Meantime, I'm Frederica Whitfield in Atlanta with continuing coverage of today's escalating violence in Iran, saying the world is watching. President Obama today called on the government of Iran to stop, quote, all violent and unjust actions against its own people, unquote. This amateur video from YouTube will give you an idea of the chaos in Tehran today. Iranian authorities stepped up their campaign to end anti-government demonstrations, difficult, grainy, and a lot of movement on these images, but this is the kind of stuff that we're seeing coming out. We understand eyewitnesses have said that water cannons have been used, tear gas canisters have also been hurled against demonstrators. Also reports of gunshots, and it sounded like that's what we were hearing in that last those last set of images coming from Ivan Watson and into Tehran. Meantime, witnesses reported fierce clashes in the streets as protesters fought back as well, throwing rocks at police. Right here, the explanation that we got earlier about what's taking place here is there's a man right there near that vehicle who apparently was sympathetic to the government, maybe even a plainclothes officer, and the woman there just simply out of sign of respect of another human being trying to protect him. But many people, as you see, many of the men who have come around him working around her and trying to beat, slap that man as best they can. And you see motorcycles such as that one that have been put on fire, and you see the conflict, citizen against citizen, not necessarily representatives of the government armed forces in uniform conflicting with civilians. And here you're seeing state television images that have been broadcast, and this is the mosque of the Ayatollah Khamenei, which apparently earlier today there were reports coming from state television that a suicide bomber carried out a blast outside the mosque, and earlier it was reported that as many as three people, including the suicide bomber, were killed. But now we're getting the latest information that perhaps just the suicide bomber may have been killed outside that mosque. So again, just a splattering of images that are coming in many different ways, whether it be from state television or maybe even social networking, people sending their images via cell phone as well as YouTube and other social networking sites, and trying to convey as best they can what's taking place in Tehran. All right, there are also some iReport photos that are coming in. Photos as well as some kind of commentary on what's transpiring. This appears to be more scenes out of Tehran today, also amateur video. What you see here is a collection of people, but we're seeing it for the first time together here. It doesn't seem as though there is any unrest, simply a lot of movement from the person who's actually taking the picture, but it looks like a peaceful assemblage of a number of people, all still in defiance of the Ayatollah Khamenei saying yesterday that no one should protest, and if they do, they are breaking the law, all in defiance of the Ayatollah yesterday. Our Josh Leves is also monitoring your comments, your thoughts via Twitter.